Welcome everybody to the weekend preview, Breeders' Cup International Horse Preview with David Duncan from Racing Downwind. And Breeders' Cup is one of the most important weekends of the year when it comes to thoroughbred horse racing. And we're honored to have Mr. David Duncan, one of the best handicappers in the world, with us. He's also one of the most knowledgeable people on Japanese horse racing, and we were lucky enough to have him writing our notes for Equine Edge analysis for the Breeders' Cup on the Japanese horses. So we are going to, hey, David.
Yep. I was going to say, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're down in San Diego, just outside of Del Mar, getting ready for the Breeders' Cup. And we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. Dave, if you can, give us a little bit on, I know you have been to Japan many times. How did you get your start in Japanese horse racing?
Well, as a young child, I grew up with horse racing, around 8 or 9 years old. And I was mainly a quarter horse person with my dad. And then eventually, when Spectacular Bid came around, I became a big thoroughbred fan and followed Spectacular Bid on every single show that he ever had when he was on Wide World of Sports. That was the biggest event for horse racing at the time. And then got into the Breeders' Cup in the early 80s, the very first Breeders' Cup at Hollywood Park in 1984. I was there for that big event and started following more and more of the thoroughbred racing. And when Sunday Silence won the Kentucky Derby and upon retiring, being sold to the Japanese, once he went over to Japan, I started following Japanese racing because I love Sunday Silence. And then in the mid 90s, I actually started traveling over to Japan around 1995 to follow Japanese racing and follow a lot of the horses that were bred by Sunday Silence.
Yep. So, in Sunday Silence, would you say the most important sire of sires at this point for Japanese racing?
Yeah, if you go back in the last 30 years in Japanese racing, they built their entire breeding system around Sunday Silence. They took Sunday Silence and they bred Sunday Silence to so many European turf horses, trying to build speed and stamina. And they're still breeding speed and stamina today more than we are here in the United States. Here we're breeding for mile and a 16th. And if you're a really good horse, you stretch it out and you get the mile and a quarter. But there you've got breeding that's a mile and an eighth, mile and a quarter, mile and a half. A lot of their breeding history that they're breeding nowadays.
Yeah, I think if you go back and look at history, that was one of the United States in terms of horse racing greatest mistakes, was assuming that Sunday Silence wasn't a good enough sire for the U.S. market.
Absolutely.
All right, let's. I know you also have a lot of knowledge on the jockey community too, and I know you have told me about your connection with Wesley Ward as well. If you want to spend a couple minutes on that, or talk about why don't I have you talk about Racing Downwind as well?
Okay, yeah. When I was 18 years old, I was around the quarter horse business for a long time, growing up as a child there, and I knew all the jockeys, the trainers, and so on around the track. And when I moved out of my parents' house when I was 18 years old, my two roommates were jockeys from Los Alamitos Racetrack, and I got to know them. And over the years, I just met more and more jockeys and had friends that rode across the country. And so what I would do is every summer from the time I was 19 years old, I would travel across the country, go to Kentucky, go to Florida, go to New York, go up to Saratoga. Anywhere where my friends were riding, I was going there, sleeping on their couches and staying for a week or two. And we go to the workouts every single morning. All the horses they were working, the afternoons, go to the track, watch the races, bet the races. And I did that for, God, 20 years until, we all got older and had families and kind of slowed that down. And, my business world got too busy and I didn't have time for that much longer. With regards to racing downwind, I, in my life, being around so many trainers, owners, jockeys, agents, I just felt like once I learned what Twitter was and I saw how it started working, this is like only 3 or 4 years ago. I haven't been a social media influence. I never got on social media until I had a friend of mine that we were actually at a Kentucky Derby party 4 years ago. And I was basically the handicapper for our group. And I had to send out and make copies of all of my stats to everybody that was at our round table. We had about 14 guys. And a buddy of mine, Dave, says, well, why don't you just send it to all of us on Twitter? I'm like, I don't have a Twitter. And he showed me what Twitter was. And that day kicked off my first experience with Twitter. And at that point, I realized that this was something that I could use to share information to the public, and that I had a lot of information, a lot of knowledge on horse racing, handicapping, and I felt like this was something that I could do to help the normal person that's going to the track on a daily basis, that's spending a lot of money, buying a lot of products, and not winning. And I felt like maybe this is where I can help people learn, and then they can eventually find the products that they really need to be a winning player in this game.
Well, that's amazing. And it's an amazing story what you've built just off your Twitter account, for sure.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And I get a lot of wonderful comments. Unfortunately, it's not a company. It's just myself. I do all the handicapping. I pay for all the materials that I buy and use for handicapping. I pay for all that myself, and I just want to give back to them, and I pass that on to them and try to give them as much knowledge as I can so they can become a successful player.
Well, I know I've learned a ton just from being able to chat with you in Vegas, as well as doing these shows. And I'm very grateful for your time as well. We do have a question in the chat from Jason asking if we can do a future show about ticket structure. So Jason, hit me up in the WhatsApp chat, and I'll work on putting something together with Dave and Scotty and a few other people to do that in the future after the Breeders' Cup's over. Let's take a look at our first Japanese horse, a horse that I know you were super excited about because you told me the other day about this horse, and that is Piero Magic, who is in the 4th race on Friday in the Breeders' Cup undercard in the main body of the field, but also in the Breeders' Cup as an AE as of right now on Saturday.
Yeah, this is a speedster type horse. He originally was entered in 3 different races for this Breeders' Cup weekend at Del Mar. And I always felt like if he was able to get into this Friday undercard stakes race, that this would be the race for him. I felt like once the posts were drawn, he scratched out of the dirt race and he drew the 13 post into Saturday's race. Race number 5, I felt like he was in over his head there. But in this race, in the 4th race on Friday, I see him as the class of the field. I see him the speed of the field. His running lines in Japan are dirtied up. The fact is that this is a pure 5-furlong sprinter. He's like a Wesley Ward 5-furlong turf sprinter. This horse is fast. He gets out of the gate, and he is going to be tough to catch. He really is. And I feel like the 4-1 odds that was listed in the morning line, I feel like that is a very, very nice price for this horse.
Yeah, and in looking at this race, I would not be surprised if you got 4-1 in the U.S. pool. My feeling was that this horse is going to be lower in the international pool, but in the U.S. pool, I think being a Japanese horse and people don't know that much about it, or him, or her, I should say, a lot. I think a lot of money is going to go on Queen Maxima, and that's going to help keep the price up.
Yeah, I agree. I think the U.S. General public and players here in the United States don't know a lot about the Japanese horses. They probably get more information coming out of the Euros than they do out of the Japanese. And if you look at his races when he's running 6 furlongs, if you see a 6 furlong race and he's running at I think it was Nakajima 2 races back, that's a 5 furlong straight. There's no bend in that race, no turns. It's a straight 5. And he set a track record that day. I think there was 8. I don't have the PPs in front of me, but I think it was a 17 or 18 field, horse field. And he set a track record that day. And then he came back and ran in a 6 furlong race, which is not his forte. He gets out there, gets a lead. And I think it's Nakayama, which is right there just outside of Tokyo. That racetrack is difficult for sprinters. The reason it's difficult for sprinters is sprinters get out of the gate, they run fast, they hit the turn, and then as they turn for home, the last 2 furlongs of the track is uphill. So once they, use their legs so hard to sprint to get to the lead like this horse does, once he hits that uphill, that last furlong really takes its toll on him, especially in Japan when there are very limited group races that are 5 furlongs. I think in the spring through summer, there's only two group races in Japan that he qualifies for. So he's forced to run in 6 furlong races, which is outside of what he, is his specialty.
Makes sense why you're excited about this one in the if it stays in this Del Mar race 4.
Yeah, if he stays in this race, out of all the Japanese that are racing this Breeders' Cup weekend, if he stays in the 4th race on Friday, I'm the most excited about him because he is in the right spot.
Amazing. Thank you for that tip and that information, David. On to race 8. And in race 8, which is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, we have the 6-horse Switch in Love.
Yes, here's another speedy type of horse out of Japan. But unfortunately, speed in Japan is not the equivalent of speed that we have in the United States, especially for 2-year-olds. It's been proven over the years that Japanese 2-year-olds just don't have the gait speed that the United States horses have. And mainly because a lot of the training that they do is more European, more slower paced, one late run type of training. But there are speeders, they do have speed. They are quick, but they're just not quite as quick as the U.S. horses. So in this case, when everybody talks about this horse having 2 races at a mile and he's a front runner against Japanese horses. But when he takes on the American speed, that's a little bit different. And it's been proven over the years that the Japanese have been coming to the Breeders' Cup that they just don't seem to have, that first furlong speed that the United States horses have. This horse was purchased, if I remember right, is like a $1.2 million yearling in full sell. So they're very high on this horse. He's got the breeding, U.S. breeding in him. And he's going to have to improve is basically what I think he's going to need to do at this point. He has ran right and left turns in Japan, so he does have the left turn in his experience.
And what do you make? So interesting that the GSRs on these Japanese horses, I don't know where that data comes from, but that they're all very strong.
Yeah. I think that the breeding in them are very strong. It's just a matter of their style of training in Japan and when they get started. The one thing about the 2-year-olds, they don't get started racing in Japan until June. And most good horses don't run in the summertime in Japan because of the heat and humidity. They let them take the summer off, and they don't get started until late August or September. And they race through the end of the year, into basically the Japan Cup Festival. And then they come back in the spring after the 2 winter months are gone. They come back in the spring and they run in the big races then. So for this horse starting late, I think it was around August the 17th that he had his very first race. And then coming back, I think it was October 1st that he had his second race. He's going to run 3 races in a short period of time, and he's going to have to travel to another country to take on horses. And with that, I feel like it might be just a little bit too soon for a Japanese type of horse. I think the Japanese horses do a lot better in the United States when they're mature, when they're 4-year-olds going distance on the turf or the dirt, if they're bred that way.
Interesting. Thank you for that as well. So I guess we're on to Saturday now, and Del Mar race 5. And we have the 12-horse Invisible Papa, if I remember correctly.
Yes. This horse is an Australian bred horse that, if I remember, I got that right. I need to check the notes here. Yeah, he's Australian bred. I'm sorry, I don't have the peepees open in front of me. I'm going off the top of my head. But he was purchased and brought to Japan when he's raced in Japan. He does have that, what they call Aussie speed. They were very excited about this horse in Japan because they were hoping that he was going to run in the Australia Festival a few weeks back in the Everest, which he would have been taking on the world's fastest sprinter in Kaiying Rising. But they were more excited about bringing him to the U.S. and running him in the Breeders' Cup. And so that's why he's in this race today. I don't think anybody at this point is going to be Kaiying Rising, the horse from Hong Kong. Just a phenomenal sprinter, very talented. But this horse's best distance is definitely going to be 5 furlongs. He can take the turns. He can handle the turns. Okay. But I feel like here's another Japanese horse that's just stepping into deep waters and taking on grade 1 horses over here with much faster speed.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And this race does look like it's loaded with U.S. speed as well.
It is.
And then that brings us back to Piero Magic as well, who's also an AE in this race. And so far he's been lucky and hasn't gotten in too.
Right. And here's my concern is that if there is a late defection from the race and he does get in the race, he's going to be in the 12 hole. He's going to be next to his country mate. And they're both going to have to fire because they're both front-running speed type horses. They're both going to have to fire out of the gate. And not only are they going to have to contest each other, they're then going to have to contest the American speed that's down on the inside. And I don't think that they're going to be used so hard to get to the turn and drop over and get to the rail that by the time they come down the stretch, they might be so weak the Europeans might run them down in the stretch for sure.
Very interesting race this year for sure. We have the second and third place finishers from last year in this race. They're both closers as well. Appreciate that on those horses. Let me move us to the next one, which is American Stage.
Yeah, American Stage is a very good, well-bred young horse. He actually, if I got this right, I think he was the one that ran in. Sorry, I've got to open up another note here. He's the one that ran in Maiden. Let me see.
He did, yes. He won 2 races, including the Golden Sheehan.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is that he actually raced against older horses as a very young 3-year-old. That was April and March, I think, going off the top of my head. So he was a very young 3-year-old taking on olders. You know, some of those olders are in this race. I think like Nakatomi. But here he is coming back on the world stage again, and he's taking on even better than what he's faced before. And I've got a figure on him. I've got his buyer figured out to be between like a 97 and a 100.
And what would you say the competitiveness of that is against this field?
I don't see it. I don't see him finishing in the top 3 with that kind of rating against the U.S. horses. There's a lot of speed in this race. I think it's a very tough spot to be in.
I thought this was kind of one of the weaker renditions of this race, though. There's no like Jackie's Warrior unbeatable standout who's going to end up getting beaten. I think you're going to look at maybe 3-1, 7-2 as your favorite here. Yeah.
He does have speed. He has grown up. They claim that he's added about 20 pounds. So they feel like he's growing in size and muscle and strength. So with that weight and, you know, he's going to have to show speed. I know one of the things that they talk a lot about in Japan is that if a horse in Japan that's running on the dirt in Japan can perform on a off track, a wet track, a muddy track in Japan, that he will adapt a lot better to dirt racing in the United States. And his last race he did run in the mud.
Okay. And it looks like he ran pretty well. So very interesting. And that then brings us to I believe the returning runner from last year, Alice Verite. Verite, is it?
Yes. I think they pronounce it Verite. Verite.
Okay.
Alice Verite. So, yeah, this horse is returning from last year. The interesting thing about this horse is that they actually wanted to run this horse in the Breeders' Cup last year on the turf. Mm-hmm. And was on the also eligible list trying to get into the turf and couldn't make it, so they ran her in the distaff. When she ran in the distaff, she broke slow. So she was a few lengths back immediately out of the gate, and she sat there and held that position pretty much all the way around the track. This horse is very well bred with speed and stamina. I think this is a horse that's a stayer type. She doesn't have that really quick turn of foot if she's coming from behind. And maybe in the U.S. they would call it the word I can't
grinder.
Yeah, kind of a grinder type that just kind of wears you down. But she's the type that can run all day. Even though she runs shorter races and people think that she's a miler when she runs really, really fast speeds early. But she also has that stamina in her that she can get, a mile and a quarter and stretch it out. And, remember in the 2021 Breeders' Cup where there was a major speed duel with all the Americans out front, and they all started to fall apart in the stretch there at Del Mar. And here came the Japanese horse on the outside who was also bred with stamina, that mile and a half type of breeding, and ran him down and won at the wire at 50-1. And I'm telling people that don't sleep on this horse, because if there's that speed duel again with the Americans, this horse isn't going to give up. She's just going to grind her way through the race and keep moving forward. But the one thing that I've heard through my connections in Japan is that they feel like there's not a lot of speed in this race this year. And they feel like they could send this horse, if she breaks and doesn't have the breaking problem she did last year in the distaff, if she gets out front, they're going to have to run her down. And they might just go. So I think the break is going to be the key for her and her success. But if the Americans break in front of her and she gets out smooth and grabs position and they burn it up on the front end, I think she's the one that's going to have that breeding and stamina to get the distance, and she could run them down late at a big price.
All right, there you have it from Dave Duncan there. Don't leave the source off your tickets if you're playing multi-race wagers, because she could run those horses down at a big price. Or, if Seismic Beauty doesn't get out of the gate, and she does, she could run away with this race on the front end as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's move let me get the next one up here. Forever Young.
Yes.
In the Classic.
I actually picked Forever Young to win the Kentucky Derby, and posted that for all of my followers on Racing Downwind when I gave out my grid last year. This horse is phenomenally bred. It runs through the Sunday Silence, through Deep Impact, through Sunday Silence. This horse has got kind of the same type of thing. He's a grinder. He's got quickness to get out of the gate and go, but he doesn't have that quick turn of fur like a European turf type of horse down the stretch. He's just going to kick another deep gear, kind of like a V8 engine, and just keep grinding, and wear you down. And this horse can run all day. They say that he's filled out during this off season for him, that he's put on weight and muscle. They're very excited to have him back at the Breeders' Cup, because they were disappointed with both races in the U.S. last year, running third in both of them. Feel like the jockey made a mistake trying to run down the 22:44 109 speed in the Breeders' Cup last year, and they think that the horse is ready this year. He ran into some problems over in the Middle East, because his very first race out, the race that he ran, I think the buyers was like a 111 or a 113 for that race, the first race in the Middle East. But then he came back in the next race, and he was so tired from the race a month earlier. But then when they got him in the paddock, the saddling paddock, he had like a mental breakdown and just went nuts in the paddock. First time it had ever happened to this horse. And the trainer was upset. The connections were upset. They don't know what happened, but they hope with the time off, the rest, the maturity, the muscle strength, the weight, they feel like he's past that. They feel he's a sharper, smarter horse now, and that they feel like this is their chance. They planned this Breeders' Cup. Their whole plan was based upon losing the Breeders' Cup last year, and they set the plan in motion that this was going to be the ultimate goal at the end of 2025 was the Breeders' Cup.
Well, I love hearing that because he's my pick as well. Here, Dave. And I would maybe add another thing on that Maidan race too. That was the end of a very long season for Forever Young. From the first off the layoff before shipping to the Breeders' Cup Classic. That was 6 races in about 7 months. So, that I do wonder maybe if he was a little fatigued at that point as well, too.
Absolutely. I tell everybody he's got more frequent flyer miles than any horse that raced out of Japan last year.
Looking forward to it for sure. Any other closing thoughts on Forever Young before we move to our last chapter?
I think for Forever Young, he's got a better post. Last year, he was stuck in the 1 hole. This year, he's out. So kind of the reverse with Fierceness this year. He gets the 1 hole. The other Japanese speed that actually set those fractions last year isn't in this race this year. With the defection of Sovereignty, who has been running down everybody late. Now the only thing they have to worry about is, Sierra Leone coming down the stretch and interfering with him like they did in the Kentucky Derby. So, that was a travesty in itself, But, I feel like he's going to be ready, and I don't think that he's the type of horse that you should be leaving off of any horizontal or vertical type bets.
Well, I'm guessing favorite in the international pools, second or third choice in the American pools.
Yeah, with the international pools, it's the Japanese are huge fans. And if they can get in the international pool and bet, they'll do it. As a matter of fact, a little story going back, this horse is bred through Deep Impact, and Deep Impact was the big horse back in 2006 in Japan and had won, I think, every race but one. He had second, and he actually was running in the Arc. And thousands of Japanese people actually went to Europe to watch the Arc. And they had bet this horse down, Deep Impact, down to 1-9 in the Arc, and disappointed. And but returned back to Japan, won the Japan Cup. I was actually there. This was in 2006. Destroyed the field in 2006, winning the Japan Cup, and then went to stud and started having all of these offsprings, that go through Sunday Silence, Deep Impact, and building more of that family tree over there in Japan.
Excellent. And great insight on Forever Young. Race 10, we got one left where we have Argine, I believe, Argine, for the Japanese connections there in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Yeah, in Japanese they probably pronounce it Argine, but it's an interesting horse. He's got the bloodlines. He might be the second best Japanese horse that's running in the Breeders' Cup this year, behind Forever Young, and that's if Piero Magic runs in the Friday card. He would definitely be the second best, I think, to perform. The problem is that this horse is really a miler. He's got races at 1 1/8. But the problem is that he has a hard time finishing those races.
This is actually, though, a mile.
What's that?
This is actually going to be a mile.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if you look at his last race, he ran 1 1/8. His last race was 1 1/8. And what they did is they actually tried to test him to see how he matured. Because if he actually performed really, really well in that race, he would have stayed in Japan and ran in 1 1/8 race there. But with him, he actually he set like sixth. He stalked the pace like he normally does with the type of tactical speed that he has. He circled the field and actually opened up about a 2.5 length lead in the stretch, but then he hung. And all the horses came back at him, and he hung on to win by a head. So with him basically performing the way that they did, that forced their hand to where, okay, now we're going to go to the U.S. We've got the points. We'll run him in a mile in the United States. So his true distance is a mile, even though you see in his past performances that he's got 6 or 7 races at a mile and an eighth. I feel like this horse is going to be overbet. I feel like this horse should be, the 20 to 31 range.
Okay.
But with Frankie on board, I think that's going to have an effect on him. Instead of getting 25 to 1, you might get, 15, 13, something like that. And I think, that's going to take a lot of value out of him. I can't see him finishing in the top 3, but I could see him, maybe running 4th in the superfecta or something like that. But I think it's another Japanese horse that's in deep water this year at the Breeders' Cup. I think that they've had better horses that had a better chance of performing well in the Breeders' Cup than what they've brought here this year.
So I got a question for you on this horse as well. Does this horse have any early speed? Because this race looks paceless on paper.
Well, I would say the same thing I said before, is he has Japanese speed. But he's kind of the type of horse that sets off.
Okay. Because there is no American speed in this race. That's the reason I'm asking is, could this horse potentially find himself on the lead in this situation where, your highest pace number here is like 48. Yeah, it is 48.
Yeah.
And
it's possible. It's possible, but I'm not one that really believes. I mean, if I have to take speed, and I'm talking like not like a Wesley Ward type of speed horse, but just a traditional American speed or just off the speed type of horse, that would be the equivalent of like Japanese speed. So I feel like even if he tries to go to the lead, he's going to be contested by somebody on the American side.
Appreciate that, Dave. I guess one more question for you. Are there any other insights could be American horses, European horses that you want to you might want to share with people? Any other thoughts on the weekend?
I'm always skeptical of the juveniles, because every year you hear about that big horse that's, running in the juvenile dirt there, that's going to be 2 to 5, 3 to 5. And they never seem to live up to the hype. And I just don't want to be putting money on horses in the juvenile that are going to be odds-on favorites. I need to pick my way through it and find some horses that have the stamina to get the 2 turns the first time, that will have that grinding kind of stamina breeding in them to finish the race. You just seem like you get a lot of 2-year-olds that once they get this much competition, they seem to fold like tents. And to me, I'm more careful, because this year you're hearing a lot of people talk about, Friday looks awfully chalky. But every time you hear that at the Breeders' Cup with the juveniles, here comes the bombs. And you just be ready for it.
Well, and I would say on the 4 comport, that's the morning line I understand the least. Horse has never been worse than then second, and is at 30-1 and could easily win this race. That that would be an example. Also, we have a handicapper, the guy who does our Kentucky notes, who's connected with the McPeak barn, and he says the exercise rider on blackout time says this horse is going to trounce this field, and that it is doing exceptionally well. So just granted, exercise riders always think their horses are going to do well and have rose-colored glasses on, but just thought I'd share both of those points since you mentioned that.
And when you're dealing with young 2-year-olds, they're very fragile. They're not, horses that have 20 running lines in the form. They're very lightly raced. They have 1, 2, maybe 3 races heading into the Breeders' Cup. And the thing is, with 2-year-olds, they can improve overnight. You can see a bounce in their buyers 10 points just with one race off of 1 month. They learn. If they're smart and they learn and they understand what the game is about, they're going to improve. And if they're putting on weight, they're training well, they're eating well, they're smart horses, they're going to improve. And some trainers don't, they have a goal. Once these horses hit the track and get into training, they know if they've got a talented horse, and they might not want to run out there and, push the horse really, really hard in his first out or his second house. It might be the traditional, 2 sprints to a route type of thing where, maybe they're just taking it easy in the middle of the pack and sprints, just building that stamina, working the lungs, getting them ready to take on that two-turn distance race. So I'm always skeptical of the 2-year-olds. I would just be cautious into trying to bet your entire bankroll on a super heavy favorite on Juvenile Day.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you, David. Appreciate your insight, your time as well. I know the chat very much appreciates it. Look forward to talking to you over the weekend on Twitter, and I hope you have a great time with our guy Connor at Del Mar as well for the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Connor and his wife. This year, I decided to kind of give back to my community on Twitter there at Racing Downwind by offering a drawing or a raffle for all of my followers. And Connor was the one who won, and he's going to be joining me at the box at the finish line there for both Friday and Saturday.
And Connor is in the chat. He says thank you as well.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, Dave. Any last thoughts before I bring Matthew in?
No, I'm just excited for this year's Breeders' Cup. This is going to be my 36th Breeders' Cup that I'm going to be at. And, this is the sport that I love, and I love to always be there and watch the action and feel the excitement.
Well, again, David, I want to thank you for being so generous with your time and with your knowledge as well. And of course, I wish you luck this weekend, and we will talk soon for sure.
Thank you, Oldy, and happy to be here, and good luck everybody this weekend at the 2025 Breeders' Club.
All right, now I am going to bring in Matthew Foster, or as I have known him, Matty, who is one of our team of European handicappers who have been doing the notes, and you'll see there are notes on every European horse from Matty and his friend Ian here. So with that being said, Matt, let me bring you in here.
How are you doing, Oldy? You good?
I'm doing good. Always fun to be substituting for Scotty here on the show. Yeah. So, I can't complain. It's Breeders' Cup weekend. There's amazing horses running. There's going to be great racing. Well, what is there to complain about, Totally.
I think just other than the draw, like being late, I think held the job up. But other than that, yeah, it's quite I look forward to it.
Well, I just in looking at your background, you're a former show jumper,
Yes.
and you've trained riders and horses as well.
Yes.
Really interesting background with horses. Maybe tell us a little bit about your thoughts on horses and breeding. I know you guys get really into the breeding side.
Yeah, well, I think pedigree is a big thing. They always say pedigree is a big thing, don't they? So even in our line of work, like in the show jumping originally, it was always pedigree. You always had established stallions and it's established stud farms. So I think pedigree is a big thing. It's kind of like, well, it's the only thing you can go on up until you start training them, isn't it, really? So you can only go on genetics and hope, really. So, but I mean, there's some genetics which have proved phenomenal, but then you've had some that have been, not the greatest sires, but the greatest races, So, but I think genetics plays a big portion of it. So I do think it's a very, very important thing, especially in the juveniles, because until we start racing them, we don't know. So we can only go on genetics. So
Very
that's
true.
what I found. Anyway.
And your favorite horses. Talk about your favorite horses for a second here for me.
Oh, yes. The favorite ones were, I mean, I go with Gufo. I mean, as a turf horse, and I loved him. And I found recently that Jake actually, he's over at one of Jake's barns who's in the chat, and I love Gufo because he was one of them that he just always showed up. That horse always tried, a bit like Rattling Roll just at the weekend there at Kentucky, coming from. I mean, he wasn't even at the turn when the rest of them were like, coming round the turn to then come all the way around that wide. And he just reminded me of Gufo. Gufo's always been one of my favorite turf horses. And I do look forward to seeing what sort of crop he produces, which I believe will probably be this year, I think. Life is Good was another one. I just think he was one of these unlucky horses that met Flightline, other than, which technically he shouldn't have, because obviously Flightline was not there as a 3-year-old and then had to reappear as a 4-year-old. So I feel really bad for Life is Good, because I think he was unlucky, but again, a real grinder. And I do love a good grinder. That's the way I look at it. Who else have I got? I sent you another one as well. Jackie's Warrior. Jackie's Warrior. My favorite, truly my favorite. But not at the Breeders' Cup. So, because he just wouldn't fire at the Breeders' Cup every time. He wouldn't fire at the Breeders' Cup twice. I believe twice he was beaten at the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, but look how long those seasons were before the Breeders' Cup. That he was racing like between June and September, like 4 or 5 grade ones.
Yeah, but when you watch them, they were like workouts.
Yeah,
that's what I loved about them with Jackie's Warrior. They just looked like workouts.
Yep.
So I do. Yeah. So as a sprinter, Jackie's Warrior, router on dirt, Life is Good, a router on the turf. I'd say Gufo. So for me anyway, definitely on my top list. And Gunrunner, as I said to Ian a while ago, that I thought that Gunrunner would be a top stud, and I'm glad he has been. He's turned out to be a phenomenal sire.
Way better than Justify, that's for sure. Justify, I think, has 2 graded stakes winners.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That goes back to genetics. I mean, you can only hope. I mean, the whole point of a Triple Crown is that you have the bragging rights that you are one of 13, and then here's a horse that's done that. And again, if you look at Big Red Secretariat, I mean, produced what? Nothing.
Yep.
It's genetics. It's a total shot in the dark. So
absolutely. Let's start with the horse that was going to be your upset special in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, but then drew the 1 post.
Brussels.
With Brussels. I know you were terribly
I really do. I do like this horse a lot, and I mean, even with the 1 hole, I would still take him. I just think that there's just something about him that, because when I was looking through his form and things, that the more he's kind of dropped down to that 5 furlong, and it just seemed that was the spot that he needed. And I mean, he ran a very, very strong race last out, and he only missed by a nose. And I just think if he gets a sharp break in here, which he should, because he normally is more up front at running, I think he's going to be hard to track down. And I'm glad that he obviously got Sumelon. I can never pronounce his name, that the French guy, Sumelon, I think they call him. But I'm glad that he's got
Your pronunciation's probably better than mine, so I'm going with whatever you come up with.
Yeah. So, and interesting enough, Wooten Bassett as well, which is one of Ian's favorite sires, Wooten Bassett. So it is interesting as well because Wooten's produced a fair few, especially turf runners anyway. So, and there's actually quite a lot in these juveniles that are Wooten Bassett, to be honest. So he's just came out of nowhere. So I think it'll be really, I honestly, I think he's the dark horse in that class. I mean, I heard you talking earlier with Dave, and I'm with Dave. I mean, it's hard to keep on betting chalks and juveniles, you know?
Yep.
So, I mean, okay, True Love's in there, and I think that True Love's probably, yes, okay, rightly so, the one to beat, but Havana Anna wasn't that far behind it, you know? And Brussels it has the right to improve. So, I mean, for me personally, I kind of prefer them over the top of True Love, realistically. So
let's talk about True Love and Havana Anna then. Let's start with True Love and then move to Havana Anna.
Yeah. So I like True Love because, I mean, I think she was at the Cheveley Stakes. I think that she won the G1 last time in Ascot, which, I mean, I always find a rule of thumb, like, you know, if they're winning on the turf at Ascot as a prep race, and it's normally quite a good thing to take because Ascot's one of them, like, you know, I mean, well, Wesley Ward knows that, and a lot of people know that it's not an easy place to win. And there was some huge prices that won at Ascot this year that you know, totally shocked the market. So I do think that they come out of the stronger class, definitely. So, but again, with Havana Anna, I just think, you know, but that was the second time she finished behind True Love, which then both of them, True Love and Havana Anna, finished behind G-Stad, who's in a stronger class this year again. So if you want to take the key race into example, then there's a prime example, isn't it? So, but I don't like True Love's draw, to be honest. So I think she would have suited more, just slightly a little bit more inside. But 7-2, I think, is fair. But if you want to bet against it, I'd be taking the Havana Anna or Brussels anyway, for me. So.
And Havana Anna, you know, do you think that this horse is more of a 5 furlong horse versus, you know, at 6 furlongs hasn't quite gotten there against True Love, but maybe at 5?
That exactly, yeah. And I find it's the same pattern with Brussels. Is it like he was just knocking on the door all the time? It's like he kind of like getting there, but just getting there. And the same with Havana Anna, like just not quite being quick enough for True Love. So I just think the 5 furlongs, yeah, I think it's our chance. You know, and I mean, I thought she would have been a little bit of a longer price. I'm quite surprised, to be honest. What is she, 8-1?
She's 6-1.
6-1, yeah. So I thought that she would have been about 10, and I thought Brussels would have been about 8. But still, I think they've got just as much of a chance as True Love. I mean, for me, I don't think True Love's a lock in this one for me. You know.
Okay.
So definitely not. But I mean, I wouldn't leave it off the ticket neither, of course. But I don't really see any Americans. I don't know. I mean, you know better than me, but certainly these 3 come out of quick races.
I do have an opinion on an American here. I like Sci-Fair. Having watched the last race, where the horse was taken back on purpose and just stormed home. But let's move on to Military Code, the Appleby horse here as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know why he's in here. I don't know. I can't. For me personally, I can't see it. It's just he just doesn't really seem to fit. You know, this was the one I think I'd originally forgot when I was looking at the notes, but it's if you look at him, I mean, let me just go back to his when I was here. So he won his he won his maiden at 5 furlongs, but he only just won it, not by much, and then he won 5 furlongs again just by a neck, and then he's just missed every time, and then when he's come back down to 5 furlongs, which has been better for him after going 6 furlongs. Again, he's still just behind. He seems that he's too slow breaking, I think. Every time I've watched him, he's been shuffled back. So I think that 2 hole's totally going to, cause him problems anyway. And I mean, anything that he has beaten where he's been racing, they've not really been much class. Does that make sense? So I don't know why
And he's not beating allowance company.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's just exactly. He's not. So I mean, I don't know. It just seems to me be like a 7 furlong horse. I think a sprint's a little bit too short for him, to be honest. He's too lazy. I find he's always at the back. So I mean, don't get wrong. Maybe it's a 2-year-old. He might just burst out that gate and then might never catch him. But I can't see it.
Okay.
I can't see it happening. I just so I'm surprised he's 12 to 1. I mean, I thought I would have had him much higher.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's Godolphin and the Appleby name that's carrying the morning line down there.
Yeah, which I get that. But I mean, me and you've had this chat before where I just this year I think O'Brien. I mean, I saw on obviously on Facebook I was following the fan duel and the Breeders' Cup and all that, and they had one of these videos, Aiden's Army, and there was all of the O'Brien horses out training. It was just a huge, big, long line. It was Joseph's horses, Donica's horses, and Aiden's all in a big line going along the track, and you thought, wow, that's some presence. But normally
he's putting on a circus. And I don't really see the purpose it serves.
No, I agree with that. So, but I don't think Appleby has the strength he normally has.
Yeah,
is what I would say. That would be my look at it on that way. So there is the other one that I suppose you're going to ask, Aspect Island.
Yeah, the 4-horse.
Yeah, the 4-horse. So I see he gets Frankie. So you can say that this one, I did say this in the notes, that he did finish behind Brussels. And again, it was just all of a sudden, because he went 7 furlong, 7 furlong, 7 furlong, but he's been all weather, turf, 6 furlong. They cut him back to 5 furlong, and he ran sharp. And obviously he was just behind Brussels by 3/4. Brussels only just missed out by a nose. So there were 2 horses that kind of cut back, and then all of a sudden here they are on the turf. In the sprint. So I think again it's a one that probably warrants, and it probably looks like he's a 5 furlong horse, but I just think he's a little bit greener than what Brussels is. So that's why I wouldn't leave him off the ticket. A fair price. And also you've got Frankie. I've said this to you all the time. I'd always back Frankie Dettori on a longer price than I do it as a chalk. I hate betting him as a chalk because you never ever know what Frankie's going to do. So again, it could be a dark horse. I wouldn't write it off anyway, but at the same time, I think he's just a little bit too green for this, I think, possibly.
Okay. That makes sense. The very lightly raised first step up was last time out, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Juvenile Fillies Turf, race 8. Let's start with the favorite, Precise here.
Precise. I love this. So I remember I spoke to you yesterday about this one here. So people go on about Mini Hawk, obviously being Aiden's baby, which, yes, I believe, she is Aiden's baby at the same time. But also, like I said to you, if you look, so it's the same connections that own Precise and that own Mini Hawk, which is the 2 guys from Cork, which, I mean, they literally own all of Cork. They've been big supporters of Aidan O'Brien for a very long time. But if you look at the breeder on Precise, breeder was bred by Whisper, is it Whisper Hills or Whisper Farm, I believe, which that actually belongs to Aidan O'Brien. So he bred this one. So I think he's got a vested interest in Precise. I just don't like the draw. I said this to, I think it was Jake earlier in the chat, and he found it quite funny because he had to ask what it was, but I said she drew the car park. So she's, drew the widest stall, hasn't she? So, but rightly so, you can't knock her. I think she is a deserving chalk in there, going on what she's achieved. So I think she's going to take all the beating, even from that post. I think she'll take all the beating.
In my mind, she was the most likely of the wide horses to win.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Just based on this field.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, definitely agree with that as well, completely. So I don't worry too much about the wider draws, the longer the race. I've always said this to you, theoretically, for me, the longer the race on the turf, the kind of better the odds are for the European horses, because that's what they're used to. So if they're going to get position problems, if they're going to get turn problems, they can figure all that whilst racing, whilst in a sprint, you know, if you miss that focus, you're gone. You know, so this one with it being the mile, is it 2 turns or 1 turn? I can't remember this one. 2, yeah. So even better. So I do think she's gonna have to make up more ground. But I mean, she normally is kind of up there. So I think she's probably definitely the one to go with. If you want to take a stab at it, I'd take the Queen of Hawaii.
Okay.
If you want to take a shot against her.
All right, let's talk about then the 10 Valentina.
Yeah.
For Dacia.
Yeah, the Valentina. Yeah, let me just bring this one up with Valentina. I did like this one, I believe it, when I did. This is Dornica's, this is the son's horse. So again, it was a bit like Aspect Island, this one. I do like her, but I just think that she might just be, yeah, how do I put it? I'm just trying to think the best way to explain it, because like she's not ran the mile, if that makes sense. So like I'm thinking that they think that she's going to progress better at a mile. She has been like kind of lower places in the sprints, so maybe you know, they're thinking to themselves that the distance is going to be there for her, which probably will suit her. I agree with that in one term, but I don't like betting on them when they're not proven. Especially, it's quite a long stretch out. I believe, but she's a 6 furlong runner, I believe, and she's now stretching out to 8.
Yeah, she's gone 7.
She's gone set, yeah. So, but yeah, I just don't. I play her underneath. That's I think is what I've originally put in my notes. I definitely play her underneath. It's one of a question. You've got too much. I mean, especially with someone like Precise in it, and there's some good American horses in it too. So, it's for me, it was almost like, you know, fair enough, big odds. So you could say, I mean, I think if something went wrong, as in like, there's trouble in the race, she could pick up the pieces. But it wouldn't be one that I would say, yeah, I think this is definitely the one to, like, go for. I mean, my long shot was more kind of Queen of Hawaii. I thought that she'd just been up there a little bit more. So, but I do like Valentina. I wouldn't leave her off the ticket, I suppose, but will she beat Precise? No, I don't think she'll be Precise.
All right, let's talk about your long shot then in Queen of Hawaii, since for the other son of Aidan O'Brien.
Yeah, Joseph. Yeah, Joseph. I do like Queen of Hawaii. She's actually got quite a high rating because I overlooked her at the start when I first looked at her. But I just let me just find what I put here. Oh, sorry, 2 seconds. I'm getting all muddled up here. Yeah.
Take your time, no worries.
Yeah. So that's what I was looking at. So I kind of thought myself fast when I looked at her, like, she's not been anywhere, right? So like she ran 2 sort of maiden classes, then in graded company. So, but I found it dead interesting. When I looked more at the pedigree, I liked it. I liked it the fact that McMonagle had taken the ride on this one as well, because people probably don't realize, but McMonagle's one of the top Irish jockeys. So, and I found it really, really interesting because when you watch her, she is a real tracker. So I do think that she fits well in this race with with especially 12-1. I think this is more the dark horse in this class here. So plus she gets a bit of a break. Precise didn't get much of a break, So yeah. Precise came off quite a sharp race recently, wasn't it? So this one came off a bit of a break. So that's why, like, me and Ian kind of thought this one would be quite a good one. So, but maybe she might be outclassed. I don't know, but it's a long way to ship a horse.
Yeah.
For a bit of fun, So that's what I would say on that one. I think that she was a better chance to improve.
Okay. Chance to improve.
Yeah. I didn't I think there was another one that we had in here as well.
Pacific Mission, the 12 horse.
Yeah, Pacific Mission. Yeah. I did have Pacific Mission here, which I believe was, let me just go Mission. Oh, the Baldwin horse.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So this one is, again, another interesting one. And I wouldn't leave it off the ticket because actually, when you look at Baldwin's actually really, really good with shippers. So he does well. I think I put that on the notes there, didn't I? Yeah, so he does well with shippers. And she does come off with strong connections. So, and when I put the mid-pack, yes, mid-pack run style, which I do believe, yes, I think this should be, I do think she'll be there at the end. I really do. There was another one that we did like here. And Colin Keane picked up the right as well. So definitely worth picking up. I think, yeah, Queen of Hawaii and Pacific Mission would probably be better longer shots than what the Valentina would. And I think, was there not another one? There might have been another one, maybe not, but I thought there was.
It was, but didn't make the body. Isn't in the field.
I guess, yeah, there was one that was in the field. So, but it's interesting with how many of them are shipping over with very little experience against Precise. That's the only thing that gets me. Because, I mean, Precise comes in this race with just near perfect form. So I find that really, really interesting. That's why I kind of think that she was, if you were going to bet a chalk, maybe she's probably the most likely chalk, I think. And I think you said that as well, even with the outside post.
Yep. I mean, I think among the poorly drawn, unfortunate posts, she's the one that impresses me the most.
Yeah.
For sure.
And she certainly towers, even over the Euro shippers, her form towers over the others, So that's what made it kind of like, you kind of, okay, well, we'll go with the outside, like you're obviously Precise, and then try and pick a long shot that might get there. But I think anything that does get there, I think it does beat Precise. I don't know, obviously, if you've got anything on the Americans, but they need to take a big step forward anyway to, or maybe just something not to go Precise's way in the race to truly beat her, I think,
Well,
I don't know if you've got it.
Without taking too much time, because we did record the other show earlier today, so people can go to that as well. I had some surprising numbers in my model on Brave Deb, the 8-horse, which shocked me. Where with a positive ROI, 2 of 2 at the distance, and Justin likes the 3 Imagination the Lady.
Yeah,
who's the second pick there, who has an excellent post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. But let's cycle on to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf.
The Juvenile Turf.
And let's start with the 10 Ardisa, and I'll just go in order on your list here.
Yeah.
For Hugo Palmer. Or would you rather have me start with G-Stat here?
We'll go with Ardisa. I was quite surprised with this one because I thought we would have more horses in this one. Because I mean, obviously we've got North Coast, which I mean, obviously I'll say anyway, but I just didn't like it in this race. Obviously we've got Ardisia. She's consistent, but again, like other than G-Stat, I thought we were pretty poor on this, as in European entries in this one. But yeah, I mean, obviously with Ardisia, she's got 5 wins from 11 on the turf. That's obviously as I got in the analysis. And I did say this. I said this about a few of them. I've noticed a lot of them have came in races early October, and then I say to myself, they've got a ship, they've got a quarantine, and I mean, look at Sovereignty. So I'm amazed that none of these Euro horses have taken them well. It's kind of amazed me with that. So I was a little bit wary of that, but they've shipped in from what we know, from what we've been told. There's been no issues. So that was one thing, but she does fit in this to a degree. So, but she's not really an 8 furlong horse, but it's not the strongest field, is it?
No,
that's the way I kind of looked at it. Yeah, that's where I thought of it. Anyway, I don't know if there's any strong Americans. I've not had a chance to look at that. So
no, it's not the best American field either. If I'm being honest here.
Maybe that's why she's stretching out. Maybe they just think that she's got a chance in this. I was just trying to figure that. So I couldn't knock her for being a turf horse or being all that goes with it. But as I said more on the notes, she should be more of a sprinter. So I couldn't understand why she's stretching right out. But I mean, you've got G-Stat, fair enough. But other than that, even in the Americans, I didn't think there was anything that stood out. So
let's move on to G-Stat then, since Humidity isn't in the field.
I know Humidity's not anywhere. I don't think Humidity ended anything, is it?
Nope.
No, and I liked him. Typical, isn't it? Yeah. So, but yeah, again, the O'Brien one, when you look at it, so comes, three grade ones, but runner up. So,
Yeah.
and I do think that this one obviously is probably going to be like a little bit easier. So, but it's a stretch out though for Aiden. So a lot of them, when you've noticed, they've came down and they're cutting back. But here's another one for O'Brien stretching out. But it's only the extra furlong, isn't it? So I think he'll take all the beating. Obviously, he's already beaten True Love. But it's obviously that's not a sprint, is it? So it's but yeah, I do think he's the one to beat. But the post bothers me.
Yeah.
So because the way I look at it is it like it's his first time at 8 furlongs. He's going around 2 turns, but I mean that's going to be more than 8 furlongs when you're drawn that wide. So I do think he's beatable at that. I wouldn't be taking 9 to 5 on him anyway. So
Yeah,
for me,
I agree with you. It's kind of maybe a money burner too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think Aiden's just kind of looked at that one and said, "Do you know what it is? That one, he could probably win that one. Should be all right. Even if he needs to stretch out, it's only an extra furlong. That doesn't look too strong. We'll just throw him in there." Kind of like almost what I got from it. But yeah, a bit of a money burner. Good start to his career and then just second, and just, not getting there. So I would certainly try and take him on anyway. But yeah, probably Argine is probably the only one. I mean, I wouldn't say North Coast anyway.
Yeah, well, let's talk about North Coast real fast. Another Joseph O'Brien.
Yeah. So I just, yeah. But I mean, as I said on the last one, I mean, he not faced anything other than Ireland, and then like as he stepped up in class, other than obviously all in Ireland, you'd been 5th and you're 5th or 6th, and then I think he'd been right down and he just kind of regressed. I kind of found, and other than winning a grade 3, just like in Ireland by itself, not even in the UK, I just kind of thought he's well outclassed here.
Yeah,
I just I can't really see it. I just thought it was a bit of a pass for me. I just think although it's not the strongest field going, I still think that he's outclassed at this. Well, sorry.
And to back up what you're saying on that grade 3, we had a 54 strength of race on that.
Yeah.
And the race he didn't run well in after that, we had an 80 strength of race in that. So we thought that grade 3 was exceptionally easy. That was my point. Maiden level grade 3.
Yeah, he'd faced nobody. That's exactly what we were kind of making. No, I don't mean that in a bad way because obviously it's competition, but it wasn't the grade 3 of what you would like. You would get at a Breeders' Cup. If that makes sense. It was an Irish grade 3 that not even like Brits entered. Yeah, it was one of them. It was a weak race. So and then when he's been in against the strength of race, like you said, of this year, didn't even fire. So it's a total pass for me. Total pass. So
all right, let's move on to Saturday and the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
Saturday.
I keep looking for the words Breeders' Cup. They're not there because that's not what the track is called. So we're on to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Let's see. We want to start with Arizona Blades.
Yeah. So is this race 4? Which race is this again, Oldy?
This is race 5 at Del Mar.
Race 5, yeah, got it.
On Saturday.
So yes, Arizona Blades. Did you say?
Yes.
Yes. Which this one was the one I said to you. I really, really like this one. Right. So this one ran last year, and I mean, I watched the replay of it. I mean, Christ, Raspoli ended up in some trouble at times, and I kind of think to myself, how do we let this horse really unleash? He would have won that. And I'm not knocking Raspoli. He's a great rider, but I mean, there's a few in that Western Colony. I think Raspoli enters this year at 0 for 18 in the Breeders' Cup. So I kind of thought to myself, and he ran a really close second. I mean, to the turn of foot that he took. But I think through the race, he could have had a lot more. He is a bit of a quirky horse when I watch him. Sometimes you watch, he's got his head cocked to one side. He likes to run. He likes the motor. So I really thought to myself, a good jockey, and this horse would have all the chances. So when I seen this one, I was kind of hoping, I hope we get 10 to 1 or 12 to 1. No, we get 5 to 1. But still, I think for me, I think it's the one to beat. To be honest, in this, I love it. I absolutely love it. So from last year, and he's got plenty of American experience, so he knows how to run out of turn. You know, and he's a horse for course at Del Mar. Can't knock him. So for me, Oldy, I think he's the one to beat.
All right, Arizona Blaze, the one to beat.
Yeah, for me personally, yeah.
Yeah. How about Bucanero Fierte?
So I was looking at this. It's. I mean, when you look at its form, it's had like there'd be originally this horse. I was talking to Ian, right? They had retired this and it went to stud, but then it covered and it no dams went into full, right? So he was firing blanks. So he came back out, apparently, right? But then when you watch it, he's like that days off, and then like there was one that like in his when I was reading about it, he'd shipped obviously from Ireland over to I think it was Newmarket or Ascot, and he ended up with colic. You know, and so if you look, there's huge gaps in his racing. I put it in the notes: 87 days, 252 days. I can take that, the 252 for the time that he apparently went to stud, but didn't work. But then even after that, 111 days, 211 days, 83 days. So to me personally, I just think it's made of glass. It just went backwards. The horses just completely went backwards. So I just don't like it, to be honest, at all. It just seems to be just a horse that doesn't cope with it. It runs a race and then ends up unwell, or it's off, and plus all those different days off. There's not a huge amount of information. To me, it's making me think there's something wrong somewhere. So
yeah,
I just, you know, I mean, I was surprised that they got colic like feel from wherever it was, Navan over to Ascot. I mean, it's longer from Glasgow, from where I am, you know, and these horses ship back. It's only 2 hours on the boat. You know, it's only like a 2 or 3 hour boat over to France from the UK. So, I mean, shipping to Del Mar and things like that. I was amazed that he even made it off the plane, if that was the case. But there was too many holes in the form, and the huge amounts of time off, and then a regression as well in the form. If you look at it, you can see it yourself. So, no, it was a pass for me completely. So on that one.
Right. Speaking of passes for you completely, how about She's Quality?
She's Quality. Nah. Did she end up the online favorite?
She did not. She's 20 to 1.
Why was I thinking She's Quality? Give me 1 second. Oh, Colin Keane rides this one as well. Oh. Yeah, we had this one as a long shot. So we did. So I don't know why I thought she was favourite. Yeah, so we had this one as a long shot. So she's, well, when you look at the form, she's a specialist, at the sprint, isn't she? So it seems to be her sort of thing. I mean, she's 22 runs. You know, obviously, 4 wins out of that, 8 in the places. So she's hard to knock. So she's certainly a trier. So we definitely thought that she'd be a one at a price for like a win play show. You know, vertical, horizontal sort of bets, and I wouldn't leave her off your ticket anyway. I think that she'll certainly be there at the end. That's what we definitely thought with this one here, that she would definitely be, you know, it'd be crazy just to leave her off. So do I think that she's probably a winner? She'll need to do a lot to overcome that, but listen, she's not out of it. She's definitely not out of it. So I think we did Kadem as well, but she's been running a lot of USA. I actually thought that she was being trained in the USA. So,
she is still with a British trainer, but she has ran her last 2 races here. Keep in mind that horses that run at Kentucky Downs, any race at Kentucky Downs within the year, are 0 for 127 in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, but I agree with that. That's what me and Ian were saying that as well. Which is like later on you'll see, but we were saying like me and Ian had said that a couple of times with it, but you know, I like them going from Kentucky Downs into Keeneland and Churchill, but for the Breeders' Cup I don't tend to find it where it really goes too well, does it? So, but you know, with Kadem, as me and Ian said, it was just dead simple. 9-year-old, and you can't say he's lost his love. He's a bit like, it's like what Appleby was saying about Rebels Romance. You know, I mean, obviously this horse still likes to run. He's 9 years old.
Yep.
But you need to, that's what we had said, you need to run his best race and be 100% on the ball to be in contention with us, which I don't really think he's at that point. I think he's a little bit past it, to be honest. So, but he's got tutorial and he's back.
Yeah.
I've seen stranger things happen. But yeah, we were a little bit of a pass with a Cadem. So, and we were a pass with Bucanero Fuerte. So, but we liked She's Quality and Arizona Blaze. We're definitely big on Arizona Blaze anyway. I like this one.
All right. And then I believe the horse you said didn't ship because I do not see Valiant Force in the body.
I don't even know how that got an entry.
Oh, there it is. It's an AE, but it's there.
Does it even arrive?
Yeah, it's an AE. It probably won't get, if there's a scratch, you could get in.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think.
They won't scratch the A's till like the morning of.
Wow, I didn't even think it would go.
Yeah.
Well, actually, believe it or not, so I might not have put the note on there. I didn't even see it. I was the same as you. I didn't even see that on there. But I believe that I did actually write a note on it somewhere.
Yeah, and I have it in front of me here.
Yeah. Did I send you a note for it?
Yeah, you did.
Was it good or was it bad? I've got
It was not. No, it was not as snarky as I would have written it, but it was still pretty.
Yeah, I
you can tell what you thought.
Yeah, I said to you that I couldn't even see it arriving at Del Mar. I see it here, and I said it would come second start of 60 days from a win at a 10,000 euro handicap at Dundalk. Prior run that runner up in 13,000 euro handicaps, which are like what they call like class 4s and 5s. So which are like midnight, like midweek night racing.
Yeah.
With them. And obviously, yeah, that was the one that had shipped out, had been out to Jorge de Galdo and then been shipped back.
So you're saying it was running at Charlestown?
No, I'm saying basically. Well, yeah, the Euro version of Charlestown, basically, yeah. So it ran 2 races in Gulfstream. It shipped out to Jorge de Galdo, and it went to Gulfstream and it got shipped back because it didn't fire. And then after not firing in Gulfstream, it was like 23rd out of 28 and 11th out of 11th.
Yeah.
So I mean, why that is even? I cannot understand why it's even shipped out. So I mean, it must be 150 to 1. It must be.
Yeah.
It must be the Irish gamble. It has to be. I can't give you an explanation for it. I don't see it. So.
All right, well, I'm not going to torture you anymore with that one.
Definitely.
We'll move on to the Breeders' Cup Turf.
Oh, I love this one. I love this one, by the way. I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, you tell me which one you want to start with here.
I'll go with Amalok.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love Amalok here. Right. So as I put this one, this is he's a turf rooter, definitely. This is when you'll see real like turf rooters, isn't like, because I mean obviously we root or we go routes like 14, 16, 18, very long distance in Europe, which you don't normally get in America. So like this for them, like for Amalok, this 12 furlong should be like a morning run, technically. He's more of a 14 furlong horse. But I mean, obviously, he was second last. Was it last time he was in the St. Leger? I'm pretty sure he came out the St. Leger, which is 14 furlongs.
Yes.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that is a very, very strong Irish festival every year, the St. Leger Festival. So he came out second on that. And I believe that when I go as well and look at him, I expect to stay. Yeah, if you look at his final 2 furlongs, I showed you this one here. He actually got quicker. He will come at the end like a freight train. That's where he should come. He drew inside, did he not? If I remember rightly.
Yeah, he drew the 3 post, which isn't bad.
Yeah, no, it's not bad also. To be honest, these would have been the ones that would have shooted outside posts because these horses can run the distance. They are very, very, very good at running the distance, these horses. But I did love Amalok. I'm just looking from on mine. Here he is here. Amalok. Oh, 10-1 you're getting as well. Oh my God. Yeah.
We with the E morning line says 9-2, so that's where we think it will end up being. But it might be 9-2 in the world pool and 10-1 in the US pool. Who knows?
Yeah. So I believe that before the Ledger, did he not? Was it? Yeah, it was. It was Ascot that he won, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he won Ascot at the 12 furlong. And if I remember right, I think I sent you a video of that one where he just came motoring out. I mean, like 2 furlongs out. He just came left and just went bye-bye. And he just went like a freight train past it. So I really do like him here. I think this class is, I mean, I know obviously, yes, you've got Mini Hawk, but, well, who else? Rebels Romance.
Yep. So where do you want to go next? Rebels Romance or Mini Hawk?
We'll go with Mini Hawk.
Okay.
So that's why I love this field, but I was just at the same time, I'm like, oh, because I just wish that we thought that Mini Hawk might have ended up in the mile.
Yeah.
Where Precise was. I think she was kind of pre-entered in both. So I was actually hoping that she would go in there. Again, a deserving morning line favourite. Obviously something that's cream of the crop out of Ballydoyle. That's obvious. And look at our last race, that Arc, obviously the Arc de Triomphe. Filly against Boys. I mean, she held her own. She really, really held her own. I don't know if you watched the replay of that, but I mean, she lost that, and she lost that,
yeah, absolutely.
Kind of unlucky. I think that this here is a trainer's goal, if that makes sense. So you've got Appleby in here with Rebels Romance. Rebels Romance will be the only one to win it 3 times if he does. And he's more than capable of winning it. But Mini Hawk, again, how many Fillies beat the Colts? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think it's like a little bit of a goal of that. And I think they're also, to them, at Ballydoyle, they're kind of thinking that, this race is nowhere near as strong as what the Arc was.
Yeah. But and also has a $5 million purse, which is probably one of the reasons they're there.
Yes.
Instead
also,
of in the Filly Mare Turf for the mile.
Yeah, exactly as well. Yeah. I mean, obviously it is like that as well. So, but it's interesting how, like Precise and her are kind of split up. Yeah. It's like, I don't want either to beat either. That's kind of the way I look at it. But, she's, obviously Minnie's capable of it. She's the deserving favourite. Absolutely. I think, Scotty's got the top 3 right. Although I've just got that good feeling, maybe it's just out of a little bit of favoritism, but I just got that good feeling that Rebels Romance might just prevail out this one over Mini Hawk. But it'll be crazy not to leave her off, to leave her off any tickets, and it would be crazy to think that that she's not going to win. I mean, she's more than capable of winning, but obviously just 8-5. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't think she's as much of a lock as what Precise is. I think Precise would be a stronger lock than what Mini would be. That's where I was looking at on this one.
I agree. I think it's a much stronger field.
Yeah, I mean, Rebels Romance. I mean, here's a horse that's like, horse for course and 2 times defending this.
Yep.
Got a lot of experience. I mean, I think he's won something like $14 million. That Rebels Romance. I think it's something.
Crazy. I have. Hold on, I'm on the wrong screen to see that. Let's look at lifetime. 14 million. Yeah.
I mean, well, that's experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 Breeders' Cups.
I think question just is the trip here. Because Rebels Romance typically tends to be relatively forwardly placed.
Yeah, which he has been, hasn't he? So he definitely has been when he's been here. I would have liked a better draw for Rebel, but I've seen Appy. The thing is, and I've had this myself. Like when obviously when I had horses myself, you'd have older horses who were just a lot more versatile. So I think that you could have put Rebels Romance in stall 1, or you could put him in stall 14, and I think his chances are the same. I don't think there's a post bias for him. I think if he comes out and he runs his race, and that's it. You know,
Yeah.
he's got all adversity behind him. He's faced all those live events that could go wrong. He's had them all. At the end of the day, Rebels Romance, 100% focused. A jockey on his back, 100% focused. He's very hard to beat. Very hard to beat. To me.
And his record shows that too. He's up. Besides winning $14 million, he's won 20 of 29 starts.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
and this is why when you come to El Cordoba, if you notice, El Cordoba is often in the races that Romance is in, but then often finishes behind him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I've been saying that. I said that in the Turf Classic when they faced each other.
Cordoba's the pace setter.
Well. Yeah.
El Cordoba will be, once Rebels Romance, I think that if Rebels Romance wins this, I think that'll be him bowing out, and rightly so. You know, that Geldon's got nothing to prove. Nothing to prove. Rightly so. Plus, it's a huge target to win. The only person, Appleby, okay, you know, Aidan O'Brien's 125 this year, leading trainer, whatever. But here's a guy that set a record that no one else has set. So there's one thing. I think he bows out, and I think that El Cordoba will then, that's your next Rebels Romance till a 7-year-old. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, definitely.
He's a 4-year-old Geldon, you know, so he's not got as much experience behind him, but he's good enough. It's what I've said to you, what you call a classic purse snatcher. You know, so I mean, Rebels Romance isn't going to go to the barn and say, "Oh, by the way, I'm the 3-time turf winner." Great, well, you haven't got nuts. So there's nothing. It's all he can do is win purses. That's all he can do. So they're definitely primed for this year. So yeah, Mini Hawk, don't write her off, but I think 8-5 is a bit. I think it's a bit unfair, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen like 5-2 and 7-2.
Okay.
You know, I think that would have been a more fair odds. So I think 8-5 is a pretty unfair, especially when you've got Rebels Romance, who, as you said, like 20 from 29 or whatever it is. You know.
What about the 2 Goliath? I know you and Ian are against here.
Not entirely against. The only thing is, I'll see with Goliath is Goliath's races have been on different ground. So they've often been on softer ground. Most of his races.
Yeah.
So I just don't. Do you know that Goliath's got string hold as well? I don't know if you knew that. So yeah, he's got string hold. It was on this morning. So, which is an interesting thing. It was just on one of the videos this morning from the Breeders' Cup. It's not a neurological thing. It's a tendon thing where the muscles. If you watch him walking, before he warms up, you'll find that his hind legs overextend. Oh. They do that for about 5 or 10 minutes. I had a horse with that before. They're perfectly sound, and I just noticed that this morning. Sorry, by the way, just totally random, but yeah, he's got string hold.
Okay.
But yeah, if you look at soft, good to soft, you know, a lot of his best races have been on the softer ground, so we just didn't really like him here, to be honest. I'm not against him completely, but I just didn't think that any of the ground sort of suited. And you know, his last win was a 10 furlong, I believe, and he's going 12 furlongs here. And also as well, since he came back from, I think, I'm sure he shipped out to Tokyo. Was it Tokyo or Sheraton? Because he's really, really good as a 3-year-old. He was like kind of one of them that, like, you know, here's the big star. Kind of not too bad as a 4-year-old, and then came back out of that. And then this season, he's just totally flopped. So, yeah, ground-wise, that sort of form, I think he's kind of regressing. So we were kind of a pass on him.
All right, how about, I know this one you were disappointed in the draw for. How about Ethical Diamond?
Oh, I love this one. Willie Mullins. This is the Mullins one.
I was bringing it up. This is one of the first horses you mentioned to me before, when the Breeders' Cup entries came out.
So this one, yeah, a really, really interesting one. So Willie Mullins. So this will be his first time at the Breeders' Cup, right? And I mean, Aidan O'Brien's been phenomenal, right? But Willie Mullins is the Aidan O'Brien of the national hunt, right? This guy turns up at Cheltenham, cleans up. This guy turns up at the Grand National Festival God, what's the track called again? Oh my God, but the Grand Nationalist. I can't even remember the name of the track. That's really bad. That. Anyway, turns up, cleans up all the time. National Hunt season, this guy cleans up all the time.
So I'm
started-
guessing most of our viewers don't know what the National Hunt is. So can you explain what that is?
So the National Hunt is the obviously it's the jumps racing.
Okay.
And when you're talking turf routes, so I believe that the Grand National is. I try to think what it'll be in furlongs. Well, you need to help me. I think it's 4.6 miles. I believe. I think roughly. It's over 4 miles anyway.
So if it's 4 miles, that's 32 furlongs. So 4.6 is going to be about let's call it 38, 39 furlongs.
Yeah. So National Hunt are normally from like 2.5 miles up to sort of like just shy of 4.5 miles, plus with huge obstacles. And I'm talking some of these obstacles are 6 and 7 feet. I mean, the Grand National probably being the hardest one of them all to win. There's not many that have won it twice. There's a few of them. Obviously, it's a bit like it's almost like the jumping version of the Triple Crown kind of thing. Like to win the Grand National, because you'll get over 40 of them at the gate, and there's been very few, over the whole history. There's been very few fatalities, so it's not like that. But a lot of them end up just pulling up halfway through, as they're like too tired or don't have a chance of winning. It's an extremely hard race. National Hunt. It's a different kettle of fish. It's all turf routing, and they often run in the harshest turf conditions, and over long, obviously very long routes. So Willie Mullins knows how to train a route horse, and he's just started stepping into the flat racing, and already picking up wins at Ascot. So, and then all of a sudden he ships over to Del Mar. So I remember seeing an interview with him, and in Irish terms, he wanted to go over and see what the crack was. So he wanted to see what the layout was. So in other words, he's over investigating, and then, well, he might just start doing the same as Aidan O'Brien and start shipping planes in them over. And Ethical Diamond is one of them. If you look at his form, I showed you a video of him as well. A phenomenal horse. And I didn't like the draw at 14, but then again, he is that sort of horse that he'll overcome that easy. So definitely, I believe was it York that he won it last time?
Yes, correct. So he's won at York and Ascot at back-to-back races.
Yeah, because when you look, York and Ascot, but then when you look at it before that, hurdles, he beat him with the jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even at my local track in Ayr, I'm looking at that. Yeah. So Ascot and York. So there's a trainer that just came into flat racing from the National Hunt, which is a very different kettle of fish. But when you want to talk about European turf routes, National Hunt is turf routing. He comes in with a top jockey, and he comes in, back to back Ascot and York. So I think at a huge price. I mean, I can't believe he's 30-1. I'm just absolutely amazed.
Well, he's 8-1 on the morning line, so we agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, because I mean, when you look at Mullins, I mean, it's very rarely in life that you get. I mean, we might be able to bet Mullins now at 8-1. Andy Post for Cheltenham next year, maybe now at 8-1 in an Andy Post, but very rarely do you ever get Mullins. It's 8-1, never mind 30-1.
Yeah.
So a very capable trainer. It's his only horse that he sent. It's a trainer it's a first time Breeders' Cup for him. So okay, yeah, you can look at it as a negative, but when it's been his first time with the Royal Ascot, he's just been out and won. Very, very capable trainer. Very capable. He's got a very capable jockey, and he sent over a horse that knows how to route. So,
all right.
I think, I wouldn't leave him off his ticket. I think it's a fantastic, definitely for an outside bet. Definitely, yeah.
All right. How about the 7 Salawi?
I just think it's outclassed. When you look at these ones, your Ethical Diamonds. Obviously, like we spoke about Amalok here. We spoke about Rebels Romance, Mini Hawk. It's an easy fate. I think, as I said to you on the notes there as well, I mean, he hasn't run in any really form of company in comparison to the rest of these horses. and it's obvious as well because he's obviously gelded. But when you look at his, obviously pedigree, so he's been one of those horses that as a 2-year-old he's expected to have been something, and he's just not really fired. So we just didn't like him at all. I think I agree with E 45-1. Yeah, I agree. That would definitely be the morning line. I'll put him there, definitely.
All right, how about Wimbledon Hawkeye?
I think he's a 10 furlong horse. I do. I just think he's a 10 furlong horse. It's interesting. He's got Frankie aboard, so that's good. But he's finished behind Amalok, and he's finished behind a couple of these horses here before. But I just think that that's why I stated in the notes as well. I think he's more of a 10.5, sort of 10 furlong, 11 furlong tops. I think this is well and truly pushing the boundary of him. If it's a super, super slow pace, where they're all come out the gate crawling, which I mean, with things like Amalok coming towards the end and beginning to motor on, Ethical Diamond, who'll likely motor on, Rebels Romance, who'll certainly be pressing, and Mini Hawk won't be, will certainly be up there as well. I can't see it being a slow pace. Then, if it was that, then, maybe he might come somewhere at the end, but I think he's well outpaced. I think he's, I wouldn't have put him at 12-1. I would have put him a little bit high. I just think he's, I think he's out of his depth in this one. So.
How about the European version of Tawny Port, Rashabar?
Same as Tawny Port.
I have to take at least one shot at Tawny Port in every show. So, that they're very similar. You wrote that note about being 1 for 11 in turf starts. I wrote a note on Tawny Port about about losing 15 races in a row.
So I'm saying, in fact, wasn't Tawny Port one of the ones that Wimbledon Hawkeye beat last time out?
I believe so, yes.
Well, so if you want a key exit race for Wimbledon Hawkeye, he might have won last out, but against who? So.
Well, everybody beats Tawny Port, so.
I know, and it's a shame because I remember that horse was that not a Cox horse? It's a 2-year-old.
It was. It actually ran in the Kentucky Derby.
I thought it did, yeah.
And it actually has more wins on dirt than it does on turf.
Yeah. I thought it was one of them. It's just interesting when you see a few of these, like I said, it's the same with that kind of Goliath, with that Salawi, a couple of these other horses where they were supposed to be in something and they've just not blossomed. Yeah. They just keep turning up at these festivals but never winning. So that's all I can say about Rashabar, kind of the same, and then they 1 for 11, stretching out, hugely for class. Deep waters, pass.
Yeah.
On that one, anyway, definitely for me, Oldy.
All right, let's move to the Breeders' Cup Mile.
The Breeders' Cup Mile.
Which I called the Turf Mile. Looks like you called it that too in your notes.
Yeah, I think me and you, because there's the big ass mile, is there not?
Yeah, it used to be the Big Ass Mile. Yeah, I don't know.
The Big Ass Dirt Mile and then the Turf Mile. I always got confused as well. So, an interesting one here. Me and you were talking about these ones in here. I'm totally with Scotty on this one. I think Lion Winter's your best shot at this one. For the Euros, anyway. I mean, I think there's every chance that the Americans could win this. So
this might have been the weakest field on turf in here. There's no pace, at all. All right, so let's start with Lion and Winter, and then we'll talk about.
I mean, I don't mean in any offensive way, but this particular class, I wouldn't call it like the Breeders' Cup. I'd call this one the Average Cup. This is just an average field. This, but yeah, Lion Winter, I think is probably. And I'm quite amazed at the odds, to be honest. 6-1. I was quite amazed at that. So, but I'm totally with you on this one here. That's why I put obviously O'Brien Henry into a subpar field. you know. So I don't think that this is I don't think this is a cream of the crop of Ballydoyle. I think this is more of a stab in the dark. Well, that looks like an average field. Let's take a shot at it, you know. But you know, he's been there. It comes out. Was it Longchamp he last came out of? I think when I put this one down.
Ascot last time.
Ascot last time, yeah. Ascot last time. What, and he ran up second, didn't he? In Ascot, yeah, not too bad. So on good ground as well. So, but that's the only thing you can see. Obviously, like, you know, the 8 furlong, and it was on good ground, because if you look at his kind of like before that, he's been soft. So, but it's the same again. Like, you know, down here, good ground, but then like, you know, 14th by 27.5 lengths, and then, you know, 3rd by less than a quarter of a length, but then 10th by 10 lengths, and he's just erratic, isn't he?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But he does come out. Is this a grade 1?
Yeah.
Wow, this is a grade 1 as well. This has to be the weakest grade 1 ever. They should have put Tony Port in here. I think he's the one to beat. I think he's the one to beat.
Okay. What about the 3 Salhan? I know you had some interesting opinion here.
I did like this one. This was the one that I think I sent to you, where I need to look at my notes here, because I'm pretty sure that I did a little bit of extra digging into this one.
Yeah.
So, yes, I did this one here. So I watched. So this one was in with Lions Winder in a race in Longchamp. Right. Yes. So they put down that it was soft, but when I went through I was on one of those where I was watching the replays, and then they give, like, obviously they were given from the track what they'd said at the track, right? So they said at the track that his final 400 meters, he ran this in 22.4 seconds, in which was actually good ground, good to firm, tending more to good, and not on the soft of what they'd originally listed.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I don't. It's hard to put something in it because it's what the French do, but they do something about this last 400 meters, and then the seconds that they run it in, they put this into a percentage and they call it like a par, right? We don't do it here in Britain or in Ireland, I don't believe, right? So then you get like your sub-par, on par, and then what the French were saying here is that this horse actually give him the finish speed of 106.3% quicker than the par. So I was like, right, okay. And then that's when this guy had said that actually made that the fastest, because I think the race was called the Moulin.
Okay.
In France. So that made it the fastest Moulin. So and that horse ran that. Granted, he outran his odds, and he got a clean up, and everybody got in trouble. So I believe that the Lions Winter was in this race, if I remember rightly.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So Lions Winter was in this. But albeit, like, I mean, it does show you that Winter's Lion actually, like, you know, although they got a lot of trouble, there was a lot of trouble in his last race, and he managed to overcome it and still end up at the wire, but not win it. So that's why, like, you know, I thought that Lion was probably the best going in there. Although there was no really excuse, because he should have just won that race. It should have just been an easy race for him. Unlike Salhan here, where he was a lot more unexposed. So I really like this one as a dark horse, but I'm quite annoyed that it's 6-1, to be honest. I thought this would be at least 15-1. But I wouldn't write this one off. I definitely wouldn't write it off. I really do think that if you're looking for an improver, then this should be the one.
All right. How about one that we think isn't an improver, and Notable Speech?
No, I get that. It's 2 for 9 on turf, you know. And was it this one here? I was looking at. Yeah. So he won it. This was the one that won at Woodbine last time, right? On the all weather, right? It was 2 for 9 on the turf. Again, it seems to be like, you know, this whole race.
It was on the grass at Woodbine.
Or was it on the grass?
Yes.
Fair enough. I thought it was on the all weather on the last time. It was on the grass last time at Woodbine. But when I was looking through the form, there wasn't really an awful lot of pace in that race, was there? If I remember correctly. And it kind of just been like, you know, a subpar field with no pace, and just, you know what I mean, getting the jump on a horse that did all the work at the front. You know,
Yes.
I didn't really see anything spectacular. Again, it was like most of these horses taking a stab at this race for a big purse because, well, it's not as if anything's much better. You know, I mean, obviously there are some that are a little bit better, but I mean, you wouldn't see there's a standout. Like when we looked at the race earlier with Precise, she's an obvious standout to the rest of that field. Whilst this one here, to me, there's no standout. You know, so yeah, I don't really like Notable Speech. I think 5-2 is way unfair. I wouldn't have made it favourite. I would have actually put the Lion Winter favourite, to be honest. So for me, it's a pass. So I'm still going to fade it.
How about John Quill?
Another one that I was fading on this one. So yeah, it's another one that I just thought that, you know, if you look at these turf wins, so we've got 3 turf wins here, and like, you know, a 5K maiden, a grade 3 at Newbury, and you know, and the Goodwood Mile by a neck. You know, I don't really think he comes out of hugely strong races, and he seems to be one that sits at the back a bit. And I think me and you were talking about the pace earlier. There might be a little bit of pace. Well, no, there is no pace in this race, is there?
Yeah.
So, but still, I didn't like him. I thought that the best race that he ran, that's why I said that in the notes, was that when he finished second to Henry Matisse, which is a little bit further back in his form. But since then, he's done nothing.
Yep.
You know, so I just didn't like him. Obviously, you got the strong connections because he is, you know, he's bred by Juvenile Farms. So, and obviously, you're coming from Baldwin. Baldwin has a lot of judgment horses, I believe, but I just didn't like him. I think Ian thought he was a little bit of a stab in the dark, but again, going on the field, you know, the strength of the field, Oldy, to be honest. So, but no, I didn't like him in this. Not for me. What about you? Do you have anything in it?
I didn't have any interest in him at all. There, a Lion and Winner and Johannes were my top 2 picks.
Yeah. Which one? Johannes and who?
No, Lion and Winner. Lion and Winter, yeah. Lion and Winter, yeah. I'm leaving the off the beginning. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I do the same. I was calling him Winter Lion. Yeah. No, I think Scotty's got that right. I think you're right as well. I'll go with that 100%.
We got one other in here. We have the Q Karat.
Yeah, correct.
The 13, who may be the speed of this race.
Yeah, so this one's an interesting one, right? So he's got a big win. I remember Ian talking about this one, right? Where he's normally a one that doesn't break very well. You know, he's a bit odd. But then all of a sudden, a Goodwood, he just went like a rocket. Out the gate. Off. Gone in the distance. And I'm sure it was something crazy like 150 to 1. Yes. But yeah, he is normally the pace. He's a bad breaker, but he is normally the pace. So, but I had a lot of, to me, looking obviously, you know, with his breeding, you know, he'd been gelded and all the different sort of stuff that went with it, and just kind of up and down it, and a lost horse. Does that make sense? Like, you know, he just lost his way, kind of thing, and maybe he's just trying to get. They're just trying to round him back better. So, do I think he's out of it? No, I don't think he's out of it. Do I think he's the pace of the race? Yeah, I think you're right, but you know, I didn't really have the chance at that time to work out the same as you. Now, saying that there's no pace in this race, well, actually, yeah, it would improve his chances a bit better. I don't think he's a winner, but he will be the speed of the race. I think I do agree with you on that one. That's why I said maybe playing the exotics or watch for scratches. And I did put, if the pace is going to be slower and he does a Goodwood, then okay. But he's a hard one because he's not reliable.
And a lot of his run lines say no extra as well in the final furlong.
Yeah,
if he was just out of gas.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what like a Goodwood. He just got the jump and he just broke and just ran that nobody could explain, you know, and didn't gas. But the rest of them, so because that's the challenge that we've had with the European horses, we don't get as much like the sectional times data or stuff like that. Sometimes you get like the 400 meters, like if you're on the French or like they tell you about the last furlong. So we have to do a lot of watching races. But yeah, I'm with you on this one. Like he's just, if he does a good one and blows it out of the park at 20-1, well, fair enough, it happened, you know. But he's done it before, but I cannot see it happen. I think you've got it right with Lion Winter and Johannes. I think you've definitely got that right, to be honest. And definitely, I think Scotty's got that perfect, the 4-7-3.
All right, so now we're into the home stretch. And down the stretch we come here, we have our last race, the Filly and Mare Turf.
Yes.
And let's start with, let's go with See the Fire, the 14.
See the fact, another one that drew a bad draw.
Yeah, terrible draw.
Yeah, the Baldwin horse. So, and I noticed that, if you've noticed with most of Baldwin's horses, he's had Colin Keane riding, but then all of a sudden he gets Ocean Murphy on this one here. There's one thing that I noticed, the jump on that one. So, yeah, we thought that he would be the well, she would be the favorite now that Hawk was, because this was the one that Hawk was ended in.
Yeah. Yes. And she also, and maybe because David Aragona, who's making the morning line for the track, did say he adjusted the morning lines based on post position too.
Yeah.
So he might have adjusted this one. You guys might have been right. Had this drawn like the 5-hole.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, yeah. So, but I mean, I'm not surprised that she's favorite in here. I don't like the draw at all, sadly, but do I think it's going to stop from winning? No, because it's 2 turn 11 furlongs. There's a lot of time to get
3 turns.
Yeah,
3 turns.
3 turns. So that exactly. So there's a lot of time to adjust on this one. You know, obviously you got the pedigree that goes with it. That's why I just think the closing speed, as I put the closing speed at Longchamp was close to par. She was good with that. So then obviously this turf suits the good ground here. And I also I did say that as well, that obviously I just felt that the Baldwin was just looking for a spot where she just had a little bit softer rivals. Not totally weak like that last race there, but where she's just softer rivals that she could pick off, because she had no excuse last time not to win. So I think she just needed some softer competition here. So I think she's a good bet, 5-1, to be honest.
Okay. What about well, let's go to the 2 Applebee's. Let's start with Diamond Rain, who's Scotty long shot here.
I like this one. Yeah. Use on tickets, she's a contender. Yeah, I did like this one, didn't I? So
yeah,
because that's why I said, so obviously with the stablemate, obviously with Cinderella, because I couldn't understand why she was in there, and then obviously after we realized that Hawk's not in here neither. So this Diamond Rain's been a much more of an improver. If you look at her, 7 races, 4 wins out of it. So she's been one of the better horses that Applebee's had. I don't think she's been on the same scale as O'Brien at Ballydoyle, but it makes sense with the other filly in here as a pace setter. So I think this one's definitely more prep for this one. I like this one. I think Scotty's got it right. I would have liked to have seen a bigger price on her, to be honest. I thought she would have maybe been about 9-1. So, and she comes in off the layoff. So, is there any workouts?
There is not.
Interesting.
No.
So,
how about the other Applebee, the 9 Cinderella's Dream?
So I was looking at her first when I was handicapping this, and I was kind of, why is she in here? And she's had a lot of workouts.
Yeah. She's been here for a while.
Yeah. That's why I was looking. I didn't see all those workouts, actually, to be honest. So, but she was a lot more of a miler. That's what I realized. That she was a lot more of a miler. So then she's stretching right out, isn't she? So I couldn't understand. That's why I was kind of thinking to myself, was it just a weaker case? Was it like a weaker class? But then that's why I put in my notes as well that is she there as a purpose for another horse, for another entry. And that's where we kind of got the gist that we thought that she was. So I think I wouldn't be taking her at 92. I think that the other one's better. I would take Diamond Rain over this one. So I think she's more of a mile horse, this one. That's what we thought.
We think she's here to ensure a pace for Diamond Rain, correct?
Yeah. I think she's the pace setter. I was trying to figure it out. So and that's what me indicated, because if you look at she suits this Cinderella's Dreams kind of suits a little bit of a shorter distance, we thought. And then if you look at Diamond Rain, she's got much better form and she's much more exposed, isn't she? She's like 7-4, 4 wins in a second, 4 wins 1 second out of 7 runs. So she's kind of a clean type, isn't she? So we thought that she'd been getting looked after, kind of, and she's just been one of those ones that's just moving up slowly. And then she come out last time, obviously second, very, very close up. And, obviously the 10 furlongs. So, in a G1. So I think, that extra furlong will suit her, to be honest. That's the way that we looked at it anyway. So she's also ran I think she's ran more than 11 furlongs, I believe. I think she might have ran second in a 12 furlong, did she? An allowance race?
Let's see. I don't see it on here, but no, I don't see second in a 12th. Those 12th, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, she was 12th. Yeah. So she's ran there, but Ascot was a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
So, and then it's interesting, she comes all the way back round here.
Yep.
Dropping down to 2 furlongs. And then getting it right at just over 10 furlongs, Haydock, and then it's another British track as well, isn't it? So, yeah. And then starting to get the jump just over 10 furlongs. So she's not far off the 11. So I think, we kind of thought that the 9 was there to set up the 6. That was our thing.
What about the 11 Bedtime Story?
Do you like it? What do you think?
I don't like the post.
No, I don't like the post either. Yeah. So,
what do you think of this one, though?
So, yeah, I think I was kind of a pass on this one, to be honest. And I feel bad saying that because I didn't want to pass on her.
You don't have to feel bad about it, though. I mean,
I just saw that, she was there. She was behind Lake Victoria, and I just thought that she'd regressed a bit here. 13, 4, 13, 4 for 13, second in a fast as well. So I kind of just thought that she was more the backup. That was my kind of where I thought it was. Do I think she's bad at 12-1? No. She always runs better later. Later on the race, she's got plenty of time. I'm pretty sure she's done 3 times as well. Somebody tells me she has done. Me and you were talking about this in the night, so this could be possible. But she's got experience over the distance as well, I believe. Let me just check that order to make sure. Has she? Yeah. So she ran 12 furlongs last time. Yeah. And she wasn't far off at 4th. So she wasn't too far off. Less than 5 lengths. So she's got it in her. So. But then,
what about the 5 Gazora French horse?
You like this Bedtime Story, don't you? Am I wrong on this one?
I had Bedtime Story as a use underneath, could get a piece.
Fair. Thank you. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that one. I feel better now. Let me have a look here. We're going to Gazora.
Ran in the Arc.
Yeah, that was the thing with me. So I didn't. Do you know what I hated about this the most? Was 7-2.
Yeah.
Can't fault that. I mean, looking at this is one she brings a lot of class to the field. And forget about how fast she was behind Mini Hawk. I think like I said, that's what goes to show you. Like with Mini Hawk, very few fillies do that. Very few fillies face them those colts like that. So I can totally run a line through the arc. I'm not bothered about that. Obviously just strengthens Mini Hawk's position, but in here with this field, I'm all right with that. So, but I just didn't like the 7-2, and also as well, if you look at our form, Oldy, a lot of the ground that she's running on is soft, very soft, and heavy.
Yeah, I see that as well.
So we often say to ourselves, normally I would often say to myself, yeah, so we're like a soft, heavy. There's a couple of firm there, but good to soft, soft. A lot of the times that she's won, and if it rains, let's just put the kitchen sink on. And I think it's all her. But you sometimes ask yourself how they'll fare the opposite way around. But I often found that when I was younger and we were riding, we always sometimes got a little bit feared in case they were almost like a jar, with it being really hard, really firm. So sometimes obviously, the horses taking not getting as much of a cut in the ground can sometimes obviously be how do you put it? They can feel it, on the legs. It's a lot more work on the legs. So will she like the firm ground? I don't know. That is the question. It's a hard one. And I just thought at 7-2, I didn't like it. Okay. I think she got 7-2 on the post. So, but I wouldn't leave her off. She's a likely contender. Definitely a likely contender. But that was the thing that made me skeptical. So I wouldn't go betting 7-2 on a win bet on her anyway, put it that way. Keep her on your ticket.
We got two more left. They're both long shots. Let's go to the 3 at Stella.
At Silla. So, yeah, didn't like this one here. It was dead simple. So, I'm surprised it's still running, to be honest. I'll give it that. Maybe Donica's just one of these lads that just, it's an Irish gamble. But, if you look at it, it's 2 for 7. One of them being a maiden.
Yeah.
And, the next one being a cheap grade 3 in Ireland. So, I think all of them were all in 8 furlongs.
Yes. Never been over 8.
Yeah, it's a big stretch out.
Mm-hmm.
Even on GSR and things like that, with the, it's not like it jumps out and say, oh yeah, this is definitely like a big tough route. To me, I cannot see anything that kind of tells me why it's in here.
Yeah.
I get that it says it's last race, obviously here with the SOR has 82. It didn't fare too well in it, and that was only 8 furlongs.
Yep.
So, and it didn't fare too well. It was 10 lengths back. It was 6 out of 9. So. And where was it as well? Was it Newmarket? Was that?
Yeah.
In Newmarket.
Yep.
We were back in what, July, April?
Or no, October? Last race was in October.
Sorry, yeah. We always I'm reading the 10th of the 4th. I'm reading the 10th of April. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Recently. But I don't know. Maybe Donica is just looking at it and saying, this horse needs to stretch out. But kind of a grade 1 turf race.
Yeah. Seems like an odd time to try it.
Yeah. So I'm not really liking
it. What about the 8 Cathedral?
Cathedral, that's my last horse, isn't it?
Yep.
My last horse. I'll be 5 minutes. Yeah. Sorry, just the wife checked on me. Number 8. Where we're at Cathedral. This was a long shot as well. 30-1 on my James. Like 1. So yeah, it's another one that I said to you as well. 1 for 7 career win. Cheap maiden on a weeknight. 1 for 7. I just can't see it. It amazes me it's even shipped. I fade it completely. Completely fade it.
Completely fade it.
Yeah. What about you? Do you think?
I wouldn't even think about this horse.
It's another one at 8 furlongs, and not even
its win came on synthetic too.
Yeah.
So appreciate it, Maddie. Any thoughts on the card, on some of the dirt races, or anything we haven't talked about? Any horses you want to mention?
I'm just really devastated on Sovereignty because my good friend Ian had him at 9-1 on the Andy Post. I think the Japanese horse is a very good shot in the Breeders' Cup. I do like, but I also like Mindframe. For some strange reason, something's just telling me Mindframe has a shot. Arizona, the one I was talking about, which was that on the that was on this card, wasn't it? Was it this card?
Arizona Blaze, I believe it is.
Yeah,
five.
I just think he's a sneaky one. You know, I definitely think he's a sneaky one. And I'm really kind of really want to see how well the Ethical Diamond horse runs, the Mullins. I'm really excited to see that, how that fares. I do think that turf race, obviously a Mini Hawk, Ethical Diamond, all them, I think that's probably going to be an exciting race. The dirt race, what was the other one I was thinking about? The one with Ted Noffey and Brandt.
The Juvenile.
Yeah, I like Brandt. I'm all for Brandt in that one against Ted Noffey. Yeah. I never really had much of a chance to look at the rest of them, but other than the ones that we looked at with the dirt races. But I do like the Japanese because I was listening to Dave earlier. So I like the Japanese horse. Is it Forever Young? Is she in the classic?
Yeah, she's in the classic. He's in the classic. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I do like it. I like that Mindframe for the classic, I think.
Oh.
So I love doing all this work. I've been a bit quicker this time off the mark. Last time I kept on getting up, but I think I've been 2 days in this.
You've been great, Maddie. I appreciate it. Everybody, this is Equine Edge European analyst Matthew Foster, and his not with us because he's at a livestock show is also Ian, and it's Ian Wilkinson, right? Who is kind of your lad, if you will.
Yeah, we're always back and forwards. We're like a team consensus meeting all the time.
Yeah. And I just want to remind everybody real fast, Breeders' Cup package is available. You can buy it now on the Equine Edge website. Scan the QR code. $59.95 for both days. We appreciate your time. Thank you for watching us here. We hope you have a very profitable and excellent Breeders' Cup. Please hit the like and the subscribe on your way out. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Oldy, and thanks to Scotty.
One more reminder, 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, Justin, myself, David Harrison will be 2022 NHC champ. David Harrison will be on for Future Stars Friday. And then Mike Salata will be with us starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening or morning or whenever you're watching this. The replay will be up in probably about an hour.